Flames here, we can start now. I stay open for no man in these dark times. Been waiting for this pain. Yeah, I guess technically it was, wasn't it? Very easy to look back on this as the first step towards the downfall. With the extra support that was needed from Crystal Dynamics. And then Crystal Dynamics ended up with the property. Which is something that, while the details of it would be different, it's very similar to what ended up happening with Eternal Darkness. That ends up as Nintendo's property. Nintendo publishes it. And Nintendo has to provide support to make sure it's even being made. Stop playing, Amanda. How you doing? A save file? I mustn't, because there's nothing in Dark Diary. There are no Omen Legacy Kain games on this card. Yeah, I believe that was court-ordered. But you can see that beginning here with the preload screen that says Kain. The concepts and entire idea were created internally at Silicon Knights. It's all there. Are we ready for the magical operation, the maximum importance? The initiation of a new way on. When it becomes necessary to utter a world, the whole planet must be bathed in blood.
There is a magical operation of maximum importance. The initiation of a new aeon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood.
Malik. So I've mentioned before how like this was the first game I played with blood in it, and it opens like this. Yes, Paul Lukather, do it. Malik. Call your dogs. They can feast on your corpses. I'll stop.
Fulfilling the circle, Malak of the Sunfan, you are hereby damned. The pleasures of the flesh are no longer yours. You have but one purpose, damned warrior. You will serve us for eternity.
I mean, that's cold. The symbolism, the guardian of balance as she is murdered, upsets the scales.
The tavern's closing. Best be on your way, stranger. What? No mug of ale for a weary traveller from distant Corhagen? I can reward you well, for I am of noble blood. I stay open for no man in these dark times. Things come with the night that no sane man would welcome. And so I left, cold of heart and soul, forced to the road and the long, bitter night.
Guardian with the name of Dinosaur will go mad.
That's him! Save Victor! Save Victor!
I killed 3 of them. I love this one though. This is my favourite.
They victors, suffering to the conquered. Ironic that now I was the one suffering. Not anything as pedestrian as physical pain, rather the cruel jab of impotent anger. The hunger for revenge. I didn't care if I was in heaven or hell. All I wanted was to kill my assassins. Sometimes you get what you wish for. The necromancer Mortanius offered me a chance for vengeance, and like a fool, I jumped at his offer without considering the cost. Nothing is free, not even revenge.
You will have the blood you hunger for.
That's still 1 for the Tony J character because it's the same character.
I awoke to the pain of a new existence, in a dank womb of darkness and decay.
Look at these environments though. And this soundtrack.
The sanctuary spell enables me to travel to my crypt, where the soil of my grave provides me respite. I often resort to this when I am weak and need nourishment.
Well, it's an interesting thing you talk about, Flame, because that's the closest depiction we get in the series of, like,
Reputed to have been ripped from
hell.
the chest of the greatest vampire to have ever existed, Janos Audron, the heart of darkness restores vampiric unlife. Life is precious, Janos discovered, as it was torn, throbbing and bleeding from his own body. This ancient vial bears with it a dark gift indeed, for with it my life force is increased. These ancient symbols of power contain raw magical energy that increases my own capacity to summon energy for the spawning of spells. Within the walls of these chambers I could find respite, and if I so chose, resume my journey when my weariness abated.
I assume Janos Audron's nothing but needless backstory to flesh out the world building. But yeah, that vision we get of Kain essentially in what appears to be hell is the closest to hell we ever get as a depiction, because Soul Reaver gives us a view of the afterlife, the spectral realm. How you doing, Clem? And then after that, I think the closest we get is that realm Kain ends up in after the fight with
The world had changed to my eyes.
Raziel
Never
in
expected
Defiance.
such cruelty from the light. For in the embrace of the sun I could find no comfort, only malice. This would change in time for the worse, along with other things. When rainfall comes, vampires are wise to find shelter from its acidic touch.
Just cut that music off right now. Actually, genuinely fantastic piece. Oh, it's still going, excellent. I love the soundtrack for this game. It is such good atmosphere. Every game in this series has stuff that was cut from the game. You're absolutely right. I would love it if Crystal Dynamics would go back and like do a remastered set of some of these games. Bring back some of the original people. Like, hey, let's go back and remaster Soul Reaver. Let's bring Amy Hennig on as like a freelancer and see what we've got. The big issue with a lot of that is just voice acting. With the voice actors just being gone. Like, enough of them being gone. Like, Tony J's gone. Renee Auberjois. I can never remember how to pronounce his name. He played Odo in Deep Space Nine. Like, he played Janos and he's gone. No, they kept Dumar. They scrapped Terrell. Yeah, I've been hearing people talk about how sad it is that he didn't get to see the Fallout show because he was willing, like, absolutely down to play the role in any other capacity. He wanted to come back and do that role again. There we go. So we're doing Blood Omen now.
These curious devices hurl bolts of whirling energy and eviscerate my human enemies by stripping ragged flesh from blood-stained bone.
So we're doing Blood Omen now. There's no saying we won't do it again. Because Flame and I have spoken in the past about the idea of Flame joining me on mic for doing the entire series, because we're both big fans of this series. There's no saying we won't do Blood Omen again and have Flame join us. If anything, like, of all the games in the series, this is probably the one I'm most down to replay. With the exception of, like, Blood Omen 2, but Blood Omen 2 is entirely because of nostalgia. This is the game that's aged the best in the series. Actual logic time travel shenanigans. Let's detail out how all the time travel works and how it all makes sense. That's something to talk about in Defiance. Like, goddamn. Like, it all makes sense in your own canon. You can make it work. It's not even that hard. Mobius is an arsehole. Yes. Yes. 90% of the series right there. But we'll talk about that later, because Mobius is not going to be showing up today. One thing I do genuinely love is the series.
Hunger and weakness are no bar to vengeance's call. I would find my slayers and send them back whence I came. What trickery is this? Their sneering faces were forever etched upon my memory. I had crossed death for this moment. My mind was empty save for one thought. I would kill.
There he is! I'll kill him! You massacre! If we put you down once, we can do it again.
That's
There is no
Tony
greater
J number
relief
2.
than that from vengeance sated. With my assassins dead, my quest was over.
Tis not over, Kain. These fools were merely the instruments of your murder, not the cause. Look to their masters, look to the pillars, and gain way to the fortress of the mind.
Yeah, what was that about? One thing I genuinely love is the series kept like almost all the voice actors
This was where the
between
bloody
each
deed of my
installment.
murder took place.
I think the only voice actor that gets replaced is Tony J plays Mortanius in this, and when Mortanius returns in Defiance, he has a different voice actor. That's not because they couldn't get Tony J back. That's because Tony J was playing a different character, and you can't just have Tony J use the same voice. Because Tony J uses the same voice for the Elder God and Mortanius, and you can't just have that happen in a single game, because it is so obvious. So they got a different voice actor for Mortanius. Can't believe there's not a retro achievement for killing that guy. That's very fair. It is Tyrell, it's not Turiel. Yeah, Dr. Hartman. Because all of Kain's lieutenants are named after angels. Raziel, like, in order of age, Raziel, Tyrell, Dumar, Rahab, Zephon, Melchiah. It's a trick of the fucking... What are they called? Hilden. Trick of the Hilden.
The necromancer had offered me no warning as to what my resurrection would entail, and yet I must confess in my haste I had not sought one. Was his gift a curse? I would seek the pillars for an answer.
Yeah, the Hilden. The fun thing with this is, like, we can do it like an abridged thing of, like, we can reference stuff like the Hilden, but as long as we reference them and don't explain them, it's fine. Because then it's not a spoiler. And as long as it's done for comedic effect. So yeah, we have Salmon Sampman as Kain. He would reprise his role in all 5 games.
As daylight chases darkness, the vampire's power wanes. The Pillars of Nosgoth. Even in life, few sights have moved me such as this. I marvel that such beauty should grace our dying world.
Yeah, Salmon Sampman is Kain. And it truly is Legacy of Kain. Because Kain's the only character that appears in all 5 games.
Nopraptor, your madness has shattered our dreams and blinded you.
Keep your distance, or I'll send you back to hell, spirit!
There is nothing left of me to fear, vampire. I'm only a shadow of my former self, Ari, the balance of the Circle of Nine. Even so, I can provide the answers you seek.
I seek only a cure.
There is no cure for death, only release. You must destroy the sorcery that is now poisoning Nosgoth. Only then will you realize peace. The 9 of the Protectors of Hope were sworn to use their powers to preserve our world. Now these pillars have been corrupted by a traitor. My murder at the hands of this beast drove my love Nopraptor mad. Now he spreads misery and pain among the Circle, crumbling the very foundation of Nosgoth. You must restore balance. You must right the Pillars of Nosgoth.
I care not for the fate of this world.
Then for yourself, Kain. Beware the unspoken.
She gets a lot more attractive in later games.
Nopraptor, with his blind act of vengeance, threatened to destroy all of Nosgoth. Each Circle member was bonded to the pillar he served. The pillars reflected the mental state of their servants, and as the minds of the Circle degenerated and descended farther into dementia, the pillars crumbled. To restore them, each member of the Circle had to die, and the artifact that served as their link to the pillar had to be returned. Only when all the pillars were restored did Ariel claim my curse would end. And so, my hunt for Nopraptor began. The Pillar of Balance.
Paul Lukather as Vorador reappears in multiple games. Anna Gunn as Ariel, who would later become best known as Skylar, I think, in Breaking Bad. Richard Doyle plays Mobius the Time Streamer. But yeah, Salmon Sampman is the only person who plays the single role in all games.
These beacons serve as landmarks during my flights in bat form. Once I have committed their locations to memory, I can always return. In bat form, I can travel great distances with ease. From my vantage in the heavens, no region of Nosgoth is forbidden to me.
Because like there's other characters who appear in every game, but nobody else appears in all of them. They're all missing from something. Like Ariel isn't in Blood Omen 2. Vorador isn't in Soul Reaver. Mobius isn't in Blood Omen 2, and so on and so forth.
While it is true that natural light weakens a vampire, magical light can have many uses indeed.
One of the most used spells in the game. So, Clem, have you played any of the Legacy of Kain games? Fortunately, now you can finally buy the entire series on PC, because Blood Omen was finally made available on GOG. I'm playing the PlayStation version for the sake of the year of PlayStation, but like, if you're gonna play this now, like, play the PC one. Couldn't figure out what to do. I feel like this might be a game you'd quite enjoy now.
Please, help me, kind sir! Please, help me, kind sir!
You know they've got higher quality voice recordings, like, of all these voices somewhere. Because that line reappears in Defiance exactly the same, just in a higher quality. Hey, it's Teak. I was actually very close to doing Alondra 2 today. You know, again, we've been talking about doing since before most of you even followed me. The fan patch update uses the same sound. Yeah. Vampires are weaker during the full moon. Moonlight is technically. There's always an implied magical essence to it, though, which I feel is the thing that we can't truly take full of. We can't take full stock of. Yeah, I was like this close. I like Alundra 2. I don't think it's as good as Alundra 1, but I like Alundra 2. And that idea came to me because I was playing Blood Omen 2 yesterday, actually, on PC. And I heard a voice in the game, I was like, is that Earl Bowen? And I was like, oh, you know what Earl Bowen's best known to me for? Is playing Zeppo in Alundra 2. To sane people, he'll be most known for playing the psychiatrist in Terminator. I mean, I can understand Teek's opinions on that. Alundra is a great game, but Alundra can be incredibly infuriating a lot of the time. Zeke might enjoy 102 more than 101. Great idea, Paul executed. Yeah, because 102 is fully 3D with a rotatable camera, I feel like you might enjoy it more. The lighter tone also might be better for you. How you doing, Zeke? Gonna do the time gates. Probably not. Because I don't remember the times for those or the locations. I'm gonna try and hit as many blood fountains as I can. Find those blood fountains that make me immune to rain and snowfall. Like, that'd be nice. Gotta head out soon. Isn't it a shame we can't all just sit around and watch each other play video games all the time? Fucking jobs and capitalism.
My lupine form enables me to move like lightning and leap over obstacles barring my path. But the guise of the wolf brings with it its own kind of hunger and rage.
If it wasn't for capitalism, we'd be able to play video games all the time. But if it wasn't for capitalism, we wouldn't have video games. So, like, what can we do? Imagine communist games. Wasn't there a thing I saw from, like, apparently Vladimir Putin wants Russia to create its own games console? And my thought with that is, like, I wonder how well that's gonna go. Compete with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Cool, who's getting to develop games for these consoles? Dude, seriously. Dude. Nah, if he used the plate item, I can't drink the blood. So I try to use that as little as possible. Audio cues are so important in this game, because they're your only clue that you're actually hitting the enemy. I did buy this on PC, I should set it up. Is Soul Reaver working properly on PC yet? Did anybody get around to that? Yeah, cool shit. You see Vorador using the intro like, throwing the flaying and drinking somebody's blood and hitting somebody with a sword. The cool things you see Vorador do in the intro. Also, I guess technically turning to mist.
Night dawns, and with it, the vampire grows stronger.
I can imagine gamepad support is probably never going to get properly fixed for Soul Reaver on PC. I guess the question now is, like, is it better to play on PlayStation via emulation or Dreamcast via emulation?
One must be wary in dealing with the spirit forges. The wraiths and shades that inhabit them offer items beyond mortal dreams in exchange for a sampling of your blood. The wraithsmiths forge their items with forfeit souls.
Spirit Forges aren't a bad idea, but, like, absolutely wait until you can control minds and have other people to offer up as sacrifice. But yeah, I got the patches for Blood Omen 2 and Soul Reaver 2. I wonder if Defiance has been fixed yet. Well, I should actually download Blood Omen. Oh, I ran out of magic. I should actually download Blood Omen on PC and get it all set up with those patches. I know it comes. I know that one of the patches will give you subtitles for it, which is good. Double blood. Let's talk about clunky combat this game. Yeah, I'm doing alright, Amanda. How you doing? That man had trouble. Long walk to... I don't remember where Nuparaptor's Keep is. All of the towns have some German-esque names. They're all nonsense, like they're not real names, but they all have German sounding. Oh, Magic Bolt. That's worth having. It could be Flame. We'll have to check. Ideally, by the end of today, we'll be at least in Malik's Bastion, though.
The energy bolt employs magical force in its rawest form. A messy spell, but a potent one nonetheless.
I mean the town, I don't remember what the town's called. Once we get the magic shield spell, like, these dudes will not be a problem. But until then... Fuck off. Yeah, absolutely, like, once you get magic shield, way less of an issue. Any more magic? Ah, Vassabund. Excuse me, madam, would you care to make a donation? Much appreciated. Give me your blood. Carefully aim. Vassabund. How many guards willing to fight you? Welcome on in, Melee Retro. Absolutely right. Nice. Flame, I am not playing this long enough today to get that far. Come on. Madman. Ah, just what the doctor ordered. And a magic. There we go. Sort of thing, like Malik's Bastion by the end of the day. If we're lucky, Oracle's Cave. I don't expect to be any further than Oracle's Cave by the end of the stream. And that'd get us ready to go through the swamp next time. We'll see how it goes, though. Within a log, be like 3-4 sessions this game. Excuse me, good sir. I am parched. Yeah, we're beating this, Clem, just not today. With all 100 secrets. Yeah, but most of those secrets are in one place, though. Nactolm. Yeah, welcome on in, Milady Retro. We're currently playing through a year of only PlayStation games. And games that I haven't finished on stream before, ideally. Well, we did start Blood Omen, and we didn't finish it on stream. So we're doing it again. Just Oracle's Cave. I don't know why you thought I wasn't intending to complete this. How long have I been talking about doing fucking Blood Omen? You mean the Oracle? Yes, we do. We just finished Lunar Silver Star Story complete on Tuesday.
The blood of ages flows so sweet. Come, drink from us.
Is this the bolder one?
Strength has increased,
Yes.
for our blood enhances.
So there are 4 kinds of blood in this game. There is red blood, blue blood, green blood, black blood. Red blood restores your health, blue blood restores your magic, green blood poisons you, and black blood straight up damages you. If you try and drink from a fountain you've already drank from, it's black blood, it will damage you, and you'll be told to like, go. Don't get greedy. Where'd that wolf come from?
The village of Nachtholm was typical of Nosgoth peasantry. Yet amidst the farmers and smithies of the quiet country life prowled brigands and cut-purses.
Where are they farming here? Anything looks like a village in a swamp. G'day. E-Town Tavern. Lady, if you hit me, I will kill you. I warned her. That man has a scythe. Who goes to the pub with a scythe? Am I really the bad guy here? Because I feel like I'm not. No, you put your scythe down. Leave your scythe at home. Lionhead pub. You might think it's unrealistic to have two pubs right next to each other, but I can tell you with confidence, I have been to places like this where there are two pubs right next to each other, and you leave one pub and you go on the pub next door. What does Nosgoth do? Maybe it's just a Nactone thing. Stealing your flaying. Yeah, you just leave one pub and go straight into the pub next door. It's like, alright, you've had enough, I'm cutting you off. And then you just walk next door to get the next one. Oh, in every corner and a church. Ooh, the armory. Excuse me, sir. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? You know what would have helped that man? Armor. Stupid armor, can't even wear armor. It's like, look at me. Even ignoring the fact that I'm a vampire, I feel like some people can't identify vampires on sight in this universe. But, like, even ignoring that I'm a vampire, I am fully armored and carrying a sword. And this blacksmith just comes up at me with a hammer. And it's like, what do you think you're gonna get? What do you think you're gonna accomplish here? Old bars and churches. Steinkirchenkloch. 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 That's probably right. Steinkirchenkloch. Can be hurt by rain, storm, water. That's because I'm not wearing a helmet. The rain keeps falling on my head.
Ages flow so sweet. Come, drink from us. The rain will do you no harm, for our blood.
No one water now. Like, your armor isn't watertight, and you're not wearing a hat or a helmet. Kain could go probably pretty much anywhere in this game if he just put on like a sun hat and a pair of wellies. People in green. It's in good shape for like the Middle Ages. Smooth and silky. Where am I going? Oh, that must be Steinkirchenkloch. See, this man knows better. He wore armor. It did him a lot of good. Damn it. I don't goof with that. Anything good in here? Ah. Is that one of the demon statues? Hmm. Well, I had my fill. Now I must continue with my journey. Yeah, they're asking the wrong kind, sir. This ain't Police Academy. I feel like if I changed Klim's music to the Police Academy theme, he'd appreciate it. Also, Klim, I'm going to be moving to America and we're going to join the Police Academy together. I was told there would be hijinks. Thank you. Oh. I'm even still here. Did he leave? Is this how you treat visitors to your town? I'm he listening. He? The Big Horn Brothel. Yeah, just in time, Klim.
Of all the methods I employ, this is perhaps the cruelest. Causing my victim's body to shrink on itself, crushing bones and rupturing organs till the pressure inside bursts the sack of fleshy skin, spraying its contents for all to see.
Please, help me, kind sir! Please, help me, kind sir!
I don't want to intrude on somebody else's fun.
Help me, kind sir!
I appreciate they've done that in the room without the carpet. Easier to clean that way. Sounds like a baptism. Help me. They're gonna bless me under the view of Christ. Reminds me of one Simpsons episode where Bart, Lisa, and Maggie get fostered by Flanders. And he decides to baptize them.
This lunatic was delighted to see me. Perhaps his madness would reveal a greater truth.
You say that, Flame, but there is the gypsy camp outside one of the towns we'll see later.
The bastards in Stenchen Crow shun me as Nosgoth shuns them. I know what it means to be an outsider vampire. I fear you not. But remember this, there are others who will speak to you, so long as you know how to look.
You mean Stakharoth? Like this lunatic. He has good advice, giving you the advice on the human disguise. Why do these people keep all their weapons in barrels? Ah, yes, I would like a, I'll have a bitters thing. You're just gonna stand there, or are you gonna get him a drink? Service here is terrible. Alright, there is actually a building I'm after. Is it that one? Gotta be, none of the other buildings are open. If your ringtone for your phone isn't Ve Victus, what are you doing with your phone? Not even anything here. Why are these women just roaming around while the owners are sleeping? Are they robbing this place? Imagine how surprised the owners will be to wake up in the morning and find all those dead thieves. Alright, I think that's everything we're going to find in Stachachoch. Let's head north to the Vassabund. Thank you for the follow. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, milady Retro. The follow alerts aren't working right now, and I'm not entirely sure why. And I haven't actually fixed them. I haven't sat down to fix them at all. That's my bad. But thank you so much. Yeah, I like playing video games. A lot of old games, a lot of good games, some new games. Sometimes with other people. I'd say Flame here, but I don't think I've ever actually played Flame. I was not fixing alerts at all. I was going through the sound alerts to see what they all were, because I'd forgotten. That's actually a point. Let me see. Does this have all of them? It does not. Kill isn't there. I feel why a lot of people aren't using all of these. There's the evil Final Fantasy, Parasite Eve. Yeah, we just finished the new threat mod the Final Fantasy VII on Sunday. That was pretty good. I've done a lot of Resident Evil. I need to finish that 10 years of Resident Evil series I was doing.
The gypsies, purveyors of distrust and superstition. Most of their babble should be taken with a pinch of salt, since the gypsies often tinker with weary travelers' minds. However, a few gypsies have something interesting to say. There are benefits to traveling beneath a human guise. The threat to my person is lessened, and much information can be gleaned. However, the illusion is flimsy, and any act of aggression on my part can break the spell.
Yeah, Resident Evil. Yeah, the 10 years of Resident Evil series I'm doing. Which I need to get back to after we finish this year of PlayStation. The idea being that we were playing every game released in the Resident Evil series between 1996 and 2006. So we've done Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Survivor, Code Veronica, Survivor 2, Code Veronica, Gaiden, Remake 0, Dead Aim, and now we've got to do Outbreak, Outbreak 2, RE4, and Resident Evil Deadly Silence.
Something is amiss. The wagons from Avernus just never turned up.
Wasserbunt lay, its glory now stained and faded, a faithful child in the looming shadow of Nupraptor's retreat.
Final Fantasy, what have we done? FF7 we've done. Counting New Threat, we've done FF7 3 times. FF8, we were working on FF9. FF13 we've done. FF6 we've done. We do more of those. Possibly gonna do Tactics this year. Never done Tactics. I'm not good with tactical RPGs.
Something's not right. The pilgrims go in, but I ain't never seen one come out.
Nupraptor's keep lay west of Wasserbunt. I would seek to cut the cancer from its heart.
There you go, Flame. Nupraptor's keep. If you're gonna carve a skull into a mountain, like, you're obviously evil.
Nupraptor had servants. One day, one escaped the keep and stumbled into our village. Mad he was, and his skin and hair white as a sheet, scared out of his wits.
I ran out of magic. Yeah, Nocturne playthrough, Chance was a good playthrough. We had fun with that. I had fun voicing the characters as well. I don't usually do that. It was pretty fun with Chance. Can I help you, sir? Well, come on in, Zencryptus. I don't know. Either an evil wizard or like a wise sage, probably. And based on the way people talk about him, I assume he was a wise sage, and then when he went mad, he became an evil wizard. Or a dinosaur. Original... Oh, wait. Original Resident Evil, Director's Cut, original RE2 to RE4 for the GameCube and PS2. RE1 for the Saturn. I wouldn't mind doing RE1 for the Saturn someday. 0-7, most of the remakes, new games. Good. I appreciate that Remake and RE0 are available on systems outside the GameCube now. Because, like, Remake deserved to be played. Zero maybe less so. But never against more opportunities for people to play this stuff. Yeah, RE1 holds up surprisingly well in a lot of regards.
The wind carried screams from the west. I couldn't help but smile. Someone else in this world was suffering more than I.
The DualShock Director's Cut less so because it changes the soundtrack for no good reason. When, like, RE1's original soundtrack is, like, ridiculously good for its time. Yeah. RE1, 2, and 3 all had, like, really good soundtracks. And there's the basement theme. Yeah, DualShock's soundtrack isn't a complete miss. There is some good stuff to it. But on the whole, I feel like almost everything is better in the original soundtrack. It's a wonder why they changed it.
I ain't never been up there, nor would I ever.
That's Simon Templeman.
I ain't never been up there, nor would I ever. The mage is insane, I tell you, insane! Listen, can't you hear him cackling to himself? That lunatic on the hill. It's not right that we good people have to put up with his magic. Something has to be done.
Something. Don't mind me. We're a traveller from distant Copenhagen.
The gaping maw of Nupraptor's retreat rained upon Nosgoth all his pain and misery. The disease begged to be cleansed.
There you go, Flame. They call it Nupraptor's Retreat and Nupraptor's Keep. They call it both. Do you mind? Yeah. At some point, I wouldn't mind playing RE1 on the Saturn. The issue more than anything has been Saturn emulation just ain't great. And there's not enough on Saturn that I want to justify buying a Saturn. $70 years old now. Oof. I imagine by the time of Soul Reaver, like, a lot of the specifics have been lost to time. The fact that the name Nupraptor is even still known is astounding, given that Soul Reaver is like 1500 years after this, maybe. But yeah, the issue more than anything with Saturn's just been, like, getting Saturn emulation going. This is going to be a monologue.
At times, my magic extends into very exotic disciplines, such as the manipulation of time. I am able to slow time down so I can move about, quick as a wolf, while all others move as though they were mired in mud.
You know, that's actually something I hadn't taken into account, Zen. Because I was thinking, like, maybe 500 years after Blood Omen, that Kain creates his vampire offspring, and then Kain ruling for a millennium. A lot of Raziel's knowledge of the world would come from that time anyway, so around that time, but then there's the additional 500 years Raziel is in the Abyss. Who did do the casting for this? That's a good question. Yeah, because that's why I say like Blood Omen doesn't lead directly into Soul Reaver, because there's at least 200 years there. Fucking around resurrecting Crusades and shit. Because there's the opening. Assume Blood Omen 2's opening is maybe 100 years after Blood Omen. And then Blood Omen 2 actually takes place maybe. I think they give like a hard number, it's like 200 years or so. Chris Zimmerman was casting director for Soul Reaver 2. Chris Zimmerman did good stuff. She was the voice director for. That was the wrong one. She was the voice director for the entire Metal Gear series. Vorador. Yeah, Vorador's still alive in Blood Omen 2, which makes no sense, and that's not even, like, a time thing.
The mentalist Nupraptor was renowned through Nosgoth for his tricks of the mind, telepathy, and telekinesis. Pilgrims traveled from all across the land seeking the comfort of his lies. I sought not his wisdom, but his life.
Supposedly, this Defiance was supposed to explain that, and the explanation is one of the things that got cut. So we're just left with Vorador alive in Blood Omen 2 with no explanation. Dennis Dyack. So that'd be the voice director, but who was the casting director? Any ideas on that, Flame? Yeah, there are theories and such about it. I'm surprised the original plan for it has never been revealed in the time since. Yeah, it's a mystery. I'd say there was supposed to be some sort of explanation in Defiance, but it got cut. Madeline Bascom. Any information on other work she's done? It's the concept of doing anything new with the Legacy of Kain series has been difficult since like 2007 maybe. Like Tony J passed away within a few years of Defiance. Like Tony J is not exactly a voice you can replace. And like yeah, Paul Lukather's gone now. Renee, like can you get me a pronunciation on his name? ...2006, that was even earlier than I thought. We could have maybe gotten one more game. No, he's not destroyed. That specific area where he fights Kain is... it collapses. But
You dare intrude upon my sanctuary? Can I not mourn in peace? Leave. Leave and let my solitude be complete.
is he done? Yeah. Yeah, there's a thing in, like, in Soul Reaver 2 and Defiance that establishes that the Elder God is essentially everywhere. And he's more than just, like, one specific area. So while Kain essentially escapes his reach in that ending of of Defiance, he's not dead, and Kain is very much aware of that. It's entirely possible the Reaver could kill him. Raziel's soul being bonded to the Reaver gives Kain the ability to actually perceive the Elder God's presence. And the Reaver itself is the weapon to destroy the Elder God. But it'd take more than slashing a few of his tentacles to kill him.
You are lost beyond all hope. You cannot see my people till her soul shuts you out. What will become of
Yeah, Renee... Flame, did you get a pronunciation on Renee's... how to say Renee's last name? They voiced Janos Audra, and he played Odo in Deep Space Nine. Played Dr. Burton in Batman Forever. He did, a bit up. Alright, there we go, I've missed it. Aubergenois. 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 Is that like the Chinese Jean? Aubergenois. 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 Yeah, probably just because of how prolific a lot of the actors in this are, and they've been around for decades. Quite a few of them have been in Star Trek over the years. Michael Bell's in the pilot episode of Next Generation.
I came upon one of Nupraptor's serving girls, catatonic with fear, choking out half words through bloodied, broken teeth. Although tempted by hunger, I stayed my hand, allowing her to tell her story. She spoke of her lord Nupraptor, driven to insanity by the brutal slaying of his beloved Ariel. She spoke of his self-mutilation, sewing his eyes and lips shut to deny the outside world. Fueled by despair and hopelessness, he turned his magic on the circle, infecting their minds with his madness. Nupraptor cared for nothing now, save his pathetic self-pity. Scars such as hers would never heal. Death would only be a mercy.
Anyway. God, does Embracer even still own this? It's like the sales they did, the layoffs, everything, getting rid of it. Did Crystal Dynamics get away with this? Because they're doing a new Tomb Raider, and I don't think that's under Embracer. And if that's the case, then like they'll still have this. Yeah, Michael Bell was old when he did Soul Reaver. Like, Michael Bell was not young at the time. under Amazon? Don't really know. Yeah, they acquired Crystal Dynamics. They acquired a lot of stuff in a short space of time, and then something happened. The thought is like a Saudi deal for like over $1 billion didn't go through, and so they've been selling off a lot of the stuff they bought, getting rid of a lot of studios and such, and laying a lot of people off, closing studios. So I'm not sure if Crystal Dynamics is still under Embracer.
The cretin squandered life and left it seeping on the floor. Such waste was a travesty. Perhaps Nupraptor needed to be taught a lesson as to the value of blood.
What? Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain take place in the same world? I've never heard this. Is that actually true? You know, there is actually a Legacy of Kain Tomb Raider crossover. Tomb Raider and the Guard... no, it's not Tomb Raider. Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, I think. There were two Lara Croft games. Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, and Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, and I can't remember which one is which. But one of them had a DLC for Legacy of Kain that replaced Lara and the other character that she was with Kain and Raziel. There was no new recorded lines for it. It reused lines from the pre-existing games. But it seemed pretty funny. Like, it was played as kind of a comedy. The way they presented it. I never picked it up, though, because it's not my kind of game. I don't think that's specifically a crossover stuff. I think that was just references. Because there's a bunch of references like that in Tomb Raider Legend. Like Lara's goth outfits have the Raziel emblem on them. If you completed all the time trials in Tomb Raider Legend, you could apply a Soul Reaver skin to the Excalibur weapon as well. I think it was references more than a specific saying that they take place in the same world. I never did manage to finish all those time trials because I wanted to use the Soul Reaver. Even back in those days, I was a big Tomb Raider. I was a big Soul Reaver. I was a big Legacy of Kain fan. 3 tries to find the right words. Yeah, it was cool stuff. Because Crystal Dynamics had gone from that. They'd gone from Legacy of Kain to Tomb Raider. And so seeing them, like, putting the Legacy of Kain stuff in the Tomb Raider stuff to say, like, yeah, we still remember Legacy of Kain, we haven't forgotten it, it was a nice, hopeful reminder at the time that Legacy of Kain still existed and Crystal Dynamics still remembered it. It just never led anywhere after that. Never got to play Legacy of Kain until you were older. I mentioned it earlier when we started. This was the first game I played with blood in it. 'Cause I came from the Super Nintendo onto this, and like this was a step up in a lot of ways. Like in storytelling, violence, the voice acting. And like as a really young kid,
When conjured, the energy bank permits me access to mass amounts of magical energy for a brief period of time. However, when the moment passes, I will be drained of all magic, unable to cast even the simplest of spells.
I can understand that. For me, the idea wasn't that difficult because I was coming from stuff like A Link to the Past into this. It was like, this is maybe a little more complicated than A Link to the Past, but not much. With a similar kind of gameplay loop. And then I remember playing the Soul Reaver demos as they were coming out, and that was really cool. I remember being there at the time and knowing about this from very early on, being like, oh, like really interested in it coming out, and I was way too young to be playing these games. Fine, don't worry about it. I think, in hindsight, though, this game has aged better than like the rest of the Legacy of Kain series. Especially Doom. Yeah, like, I feel like these games have this game has aged better than the rest of the Legacy of Kain series. Because like, as much as I look forward to doing the rest of the series on stream, like I know Soul Reaver 2 gets to be a slog sometimes with the combat. And Defiance is even worse with it. The way Defiance will stop the game and just be like, fight these enemies in this enclosed area over and over again. Like, I dreaded doing the vampire trials in that game because every one of them would end in like a really dull boss fight. It's not even the fixed camera angles, it's, for me, more than anything, it is the combat. It's not particularly engaging in later games. And especially in Defiance, it's so much of the focus of the game. Compare the other games to a Proto Dark Souls. Soul Reaver 1, I could understand that idea. In the idea that Soul Reaver 1 is one of the earliest depictions of a 3D Metroidvania kind of style. And 3D Metroidvanias were so uncommon. And I think the first really big success of 3D Metroidvania was Dark Souls. God knows it wasn't Castlevania Curse of Darkness. It's like... Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Crystal Dynamics has never really done a good combat system. And, like, some of it could be down to the age of the time. Like, Soul Reaver 1's combat isn't great, but it works well enough, and it was still PlayStation 1. We were still trying to get to grips with how well combat works in 3D. Could have evolved... Oh, God, that sounds awful. That would have made combat even more of a focus.
From the depths of the retreat's eye sockets, I viewed Nosgoth in a different fashion. The glass seemed to warp the image and taint the color. As if Nosgoth needed assistance in making its corruption apparent.
But you bring up Blood Omen 2, and Blood Omen 2's combat is awful, but the entire game stops for Blood Omen 2's combat. I can't have a thing of it. And one of the criticisms I ended up giving to Tomb Raider that was, to be fair, apparent even before Crystal Dynamics had the series. Is that the combat was the worst part of it, and Legend didn't make it any better. You see, it's not that I don't like God of War's combat. God of War's a fine game, and for better or worse, it did redefine action in a lot of games. For a while, like, God of War became the style to emulate for a lot. Yeah, the PS2 ones, yeah. No, it's still there. Yeah, like, a lot of stuff emulated God of War, God of War's combat, for better or worse. No, Angel of Darkness was core design. So, like, you're making the wrong abbreviation right there, Flame. Because you had core design, then Crystal Dynamics, they're both CD.
Should this object strike an enemy, rot and decay would instantly eat their flesh and leave only a pool of blood and tissue. For a time after, the toxins are still active and therefore lethal to the touch.
Tomb Raider, the weakest part of Tomb Raider was always the combat. And going through Tomb Raider Remastered, it really reminds you just how rough that was. And Tomb Raider 1's not so bad with it because particularly combat against enemies with guns is less common in that. Tomb Raider 2 really puts it front and center. There's a lot of enemies in that game you fight who have guns, and combat becomes a crapshoot. Alright, thanks for dropping in, Zen Cryptos. It's good to see you. You take care of yourself, buddy. But yeah, like, as soon as they introduce gunplay, like, Pierre is one of the worst things to deal with in Tomb Raider 1. And then Tomb Raider 2 making more of the enemies, more of the combat enemies with guns. Awful. Oh, Flame, we're doing this for you. You don't want to just put it off? At least until we've taken off Nutpraptor's head? You don't want to see Nutpraptor's head?
So,
He's right there.
have you come to fail the circle once more? Leave, Paladin. I do not need your protection. Come, Kain. Come, share my pain.
Our introduction to Malik, Guardian of the Pillar of Conflict. You think you'll play this at any point, Clem?
So, this was the mentalist Nupraptor, this broken, pathetic little man. Yet crippled as he was, he would not yield without battle. Very well, old fool. If it is death you seek, I will not deny you.
I don't know if this is a game for you to stream, though, Clem. Honestly, you might get kind of angry at it. Slowdown here is kind of insane. There it is, we killed Nupraptor.
Perhaps the head of her beloved will convince Ariel that I have accomplished my task.
You think Nupraptor may actually be Hilden? I can see where you're coming from with his very unique features.
The mace is amongst my most useful of weapons, for it merely stuns my victims, allowing me ample time to feed.
No, I'm gonna run up and hit him with the sword flame. Can't take his head off with magic. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. With Nupraptor's strange features and the portrait we see of him, I could believe that he's Hilden. Could be a fun one. Yeah, like I said, I get where you're coming from with that. It is an interesting idea. I could see it having merit.
I placed Nupraptor's head before the Pillar of the Mind, and watched on as it dissolved into the stone. The pillar accepted its offering. Thus, it was restored. Nupraptor was but the genesis. Forever tainted by his madness, the circle was beyond redemption. For them, absolution lay only in death. In me, they would find their deliverance. But first I had to defeat their shepherd. Malek, defender of the Nine, lay in a keep to the far north, past Vassabunt. It was time for me to test the wrath of the Pillar of Conflict.
Death in the circle breathes life to the pillars. For every pillar, there is a token. Only with these shall they be restored. But to reach a warrior, you must first breach his ward. Find Malek and destroy him. Only then will the circle fall.
We check Nosgoth's map for Malek's Bastion. There it is. Not actually even that far north of Vassabund. More east than anything. Well, time to fly. I'm not walking all the way back. Alright, thanks for joining us, Flame. You take care of yourself, buddy. We'll catch you next time. Such an underrated soundtrack. It really is. Alright, let's head north. So, I don't think you can actually kill people with the mace, but it will stun them really easily. Yeah, and then the next town's Corhagen. We should get the axes before we get there as well, before we get to Malk's Bastion.
The blood of ages flows so sweet. Come, drink from us. Your magic energy recovers more quickly, for our blood enhances.
I can dig it. Yeah, welcome in on Razor Unchained. Really, with Defiance gameplay? Sounds rough. Soul Reaver 2 gameplay, maybe. Soul Reaver 2 felt like it still had like an exploration edge to its mechanics.
Years ago, word reached us of a strange pestilence that had laid siege to a few remote villages far east. But the rumors failed to prepare us for the horror that was the plague. Worms and maggots fed upon his festering skin. The scent of tainted blood seeped through the wounds upon which they feasted. Pity. Such a waste. Good blood gone bad. Corhagen, my home. The finest city in all of Nosgoth, rich in vanity and conceit. I had no delusions as to the welcome I would receive.
Not much of a welcome at all, really. Why'd you say that again? I feel like Defiance's mechanics are pretty rough, especially with the fixed camera angle and the focus on combat. I feel like Soul Reaver 2 was probably the best gameplay-wise of the Legacy of Kain games. Its combat was a little more refined, but it still had an exploratory edge to it. But we're talking about games that at this point are like 20 years old at
Even the
best.
gentle snowfall is lethal to a vampire's well-being. Death and disease stalked these streets. Bodies lay most in the very spots in which fate had taken them. A perfect homecoming.
So if we ever did get anything new with this, it would be so unlike any of the Legacy of Kain games that were made anyway. It was basically 20 years ago, wasn't it? The cameras and indeed. I don't know, I feel like part of the problem with Defiance's combat was how it was the focus of the game. Like, if it was less of a focus, it'd probably have been better. But if, like, wherever you went, whatever you did, it was always just a build-up to more combat. Regardless of what they do, I would love to see a new game in the series. Remember Legacy of Kain Dark Sun? Remember how interesting that looked? I mean, I say that, and then I remember when, remember when Shadow of Mordor came out, and I was like, this feels a lot like what Legacy of Kain Dark Sun was supposed to be. You mind? Yeah, because this was 96, wasn't it? God damn it, stop it. Have to be tailed to fill the match with that fight. Yeah. Like I say, we're so far removed from Defiance in the gameplay landscape. I feel like if any of the games got a remake, they'd be almost unrecognizable. Ooh, the shield, finally. Yeah, they'd be unrecognizable in the modern landscape. That sun looked interesting at the very least. You know what? Wolverine Uncaged combat I could see being very similar to Defiance. Just without the fixed camera. Yeah. A lot of fans disappointed with the story and character. Yeah, I get that. Because it was supposed to be set in Raziel's time after he'd gone back in time at the end of Soul Reaver. So it would have been like a nothing story that wouldn't have continued the game. But having something set in the world again would have at least been something. You know, something more than what Nosgoth was. There we go. You know, stealth would be a really interesting idea. But I think the best way to make it work in that regard would be to have stealth be an option, but not a demand. Like, give Kain the ability to sneak around and such, but don't make Kain have to sneak around. Which I feel is something Lord Shadow 2 lost. Oh, I almost had that. Yeah, I feel like something Lord Shadow 2 lost. It's like, oh, you're playing Dracula, all-powerful king of the vampires, who even by the end of the game, he still has to sneak around those particular enemies. What about new characters after whole old ones to... I mean, if Dead Sun had come out, it could have been a bridging ground. You could have had Dead Sun, and then you could have... It's like, oh, Legacy Kain is relevant, and people will still buy it. And then have like, a Dead Sun 2, where you bring back Kain. It could have been like a setup, like set up these new characters, and then we can continue with the old ones and the new ones, like the Trails series does. You got the Trails in the Sky series, Azure and Zero, and then the Cold Steel games, and they all take place in the same world and they cross over. And I think the new Trails game is supposed to ultimately be like the payoff for all of it, where all characters from all three series are gonna come back together. I think, I don't know. But that idea could have worked. But it came at a really bad time for Square. Square wasn't entirely convinced that it'd sell. And it was at a point where Square really needed something to sell. Before Final Fantasy XIV hit it big. Like 13 didn't make the money they wanted. The 13 trilogy wasn't doing amazing. So they cancelled it. Scrapped it. And we're left forever disappointed. Even if Embracer does still own the Legacy of Kain series, at this point I cannot see them doing anything with it.
Invoking this spell cloaks me under a protective aegis. Whatever spell is cast at me will be reflected back at the caster, leaving me unharmed. It will only last for a short time, however, before leaving me vulnerable once more.
Well, we don't... The unfortunate thing with it is we don't really know everything that it was going to be. The only information we ever really got from it was that you were going to play as a new character, which the same was true in Soul Reaver. You played as a new character. It's entirely possible this new character was going to end up having some kind of connection and confrontation with Kain. Ultimately, of how big the game would have ended up being had it been finished, we saw and are aware of so little of it. It could have been something. And we'll just never know. Well, we'll probably never get a new Legacy of Kain thing. And at this point, it's probably better that we don't. So many of the people involved with it have gone. So many of the iconic voices have passed on. Amy Hennig is working in other places now. You're right. But we also got Soul Reaver. Like, Soul Reaver came out, and Soul Reaver, as we were shown, was always shown connected to it. What we were shown of Dead Son was like an internal gameplay thing. It was a leak. And if Soul Reaver had ended up the same way, like, we may have ended up seeing a thing with Soul Reaver of, like, maybe the opening, not the opening cutscene that shows Kain, like, the opening area into, like, Raziel entering the material realm. And there's a whole chunk there that could have been shown as a leak. Because the name's Sword Acquired. Yeah, but imagine it was Legacy of Kain Shifter. Because we know Shifter was the original name, because Shifter was the project that became Soul Reaver before it was a Legacy of Kain game. I'm not saying that you're wrong in any respect. It's just that we know so little about what Dead Sun was or was ever intended to be. It could have ended up being something we wanted. And we'll just never know. Who the hell them were, what they wanted, what the connection to the Elder God was. Super players came out, Raziel tapped and so on. Yeah, I always wonder, the working title for the game after Defiance was Dark Prophecy. I always wonder what the plan with Dark Prophecy was. Because there was something, they had that game in pre-production before it was cancelled. Who knows? Hey, how you doing, Leon? You guys are just spawning all over the place. What's the matter? Don't want to get your feet cold on the ice? There we go. Oh, I stream all sorts, Unchained. Kind of the definition of a variety streamer. For the entire year this year, we're only streaming PlayStation games, like original PlayStation. But like, it's all sorts. The only guarantee of things that I don't stream is sports, racing, usually fighting, but if like the fighting game has a story, we might. Depends. But generally all sorts. Though I do have a preference for JRPGs. Yeah. The game that
monster.
Thanks, Leon. Yeah, the game after Defiance was... I don't think it was going to be called Dark Prophecy, but the codename was Dark Prophecy. Dark Chronicles is one of the menu options in Defiance. I think it's like the movie viewer. Thank you, Roxarat. Love fighting games. I am not as into fighting games as I used to be. I used to be really into Tekken and Guilty Gear, and I don't have the focus for them anymore. I've still barely played Guilty Gear Xrd. If they did that, if Namco turned around and announced Soul Calibur 7 with guest character Kain, with new lines from Simon Templeman, like, I would go crazy for that. I did enjoy Soul Calibur 6 as well. Soul Calibur 6, the Soul Calibur I've enjoyed most of any Soul Calibur since, like, Soul Calibur 3. Oh, oh god. Go back and get those blood vials. Oh god. That was crazy. Hey, how you doing, Isa? Let me get some of those magic bolts. Perfect. Dark Chronicles would have made because Hilden's still a threat. Yeah. I mean... The Hilden are wrapped up, though. Like, Defiance ends with the Hilden still out there, but we know the Hilden are a threat that's dealt with. Because they're dealt with by young Kain in Blood Omen 2. So the main threat left over was the Elder God.
Lower forms of undead fall swiftly to deception. With the bone armor, they are not as eager to challenge me.
Yeah, we have Soul Calibur 6, and Soul Calibur 6 is good. Like I said, I enjoyed that more than any Soul Calibur since Soul Calibur 3. I enjoyed Soul Calibur 6 more than I enjoyed Tekken 7. And I've generally been more of a Tekken guy than a Soul Calibur guy. Blood Omen 2 is good. I enjoy Blood Omen 2. It's probably my favourite, although a lot of that is honestly due to nostalgia. Yeah, because the Hilden are the main villains of Blood Omen 2. And Blood Omen 2 exists in the timeline post Soul Reaver 2's paradox at the end. Like when Kain frees Raziel from the Reaver at the end of Soul Reaver 2, and the whole new history is created, that history is Blood Omen 2. Because prior to that, Raziel hasn't revived Janos Audron. So Janos doesn't exist for the Hilden leader to jump in to as the pillars are shattered.
The Heart of Darkness.
That was absolutely unnecessary. It all works out ultimately. And the big loose hanging thread at the end of Defiance is just the Elder God. There we go. Story of a Sword to Defiance Cancer. Kain. The whole thing of it is Kain's trying to create a destiny where he and presumably Raziel don't have to die. And so by Kain making that fateful move at the end of Soul Reaver 2, because Raziel's destiny ultimately is to be inside the Reaver. Kain making that choice to separate Raziel in that moment, when he truly had free will because of the paradox that was being caused by the two Reavers being in close proximity. That shifts history by allowing Raziel to continue existing, which leads to Blood Omen 2. Presumably prior to that change, the spirit of the Hilden Lord was just lost because Janos Audron didn't exist at that point. Janos Audron wasn't alive at that point for the Hilden Lord to jump into.
This cleanses my body of any dangerous poisons. Quite useful with all the filth I find myself surrounded by.
Okay. It's always the furthest door. As far as like time travel plots go, though, I feel like Legacy of Kain, for as broad as it gets, is one of the most coherent time travel plots. Like, it gets complicated, but it's always surprisingly coherent for what it is.
A medley of death and evisceration. Let fate choose my enemy's demise.
Hagen is such a mate.
Iron Sword.
That doesn't seem like a healthy thing to just have in the center of the room. Oh, and there's the Malik's Bastion line. I do love it in Blood Omen when, like, even more than the magic meter filling, I love it when the blood vial gets, like, really high.
Malik's Bastion, perched defiantly on the mountaintop, black as night against the blanket of snow. What manner of man would choose a land so harsh and utterly devoid of life?
Alright, so let's go do it. Always want to make sure you got enough Hearts of Darkness for Malik's Bastion, because it ain't a pleasant place to visit. Alright, here we are. The Gauntlet.
I know you are here, demon. The stench of death clings to you.
The interior was as cold and sterile as the snow outside, with empty suits of armor and sharp, cruel steel lining the walls.
So the biggest danger of Malik's Bastion is entirely that there is no blood. If you enjoy Legacy of Kain, generally, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that's relevant in the later games that is only in this game. Especially for Defiance. Like, because Defiance takes place during the later part of Blood Omen. Like,
My warriors
a
are
good
but
amount of it.
shadows of my skill, child.
So there's events in Defiance that they'll reference, like, very lightly, that are actually fully explained here. And it's definitely worth playing for that. I think it's probably the easiest Legacy of Kain to play in modern times. And the fact that you can actually buy it now is really helpful. For a long time, you could only buy this on PlayStation Network for PS3, PSP, and Vita. But now you can get it on PC thanks to GOG. So yeah, I'd absolutely recommend this. Really enjoyable game. If you enjoy this kind of top-down style, it's a really good game. Well worth playing. I can avoid these, that'd be a good idea.
The towering metal structure gave birth to these wraiths. I could hazard only a guess at its function. Fusing the souls of long-dead warriors to their armor so that they may do battle once again. Life without blood? What a travesty!
Do you hope to best me, Kain? Do not worry. Your challenge will not go unmet.
Alright, thanks for dropping in, chatting, and the follow, Razor. Really appreciate you chatting. You take care of yourself, buddy. I want to see you next time. Really need to be careful here. $22. That should hopefully be enough. Like I say, the big problem with this entire area is there's no blood. So it ain't worth fighting anybody. It's not worth engaging. Just move through the area as quickly as you can.
Your undeath does not make you immortal, vampire.
Once we're out of here, we'll be in areas where we can feed again. It's probably fairly possible to get locked into a dead game if you get here without enough Hearts of Darkness. Because your health drains naturally anyway. Really? Alright, if we're gonna do it. There's not really a point in trying to hold out with this, because we'll have to use it sooner or later.
Come to slay the slayer of vampires, have you?
I forget if they actually mention the Sarafan by name in this game. But Malik is of the Sarafan, the order of vampire hunters. Oh, come on. My entire setup is nasty. Is this the area I was in a minute ago? Did I just find another entrance to it? What does this take me? Is this where I was a second ago? I'm so confused. Fun fact, kids, mazes get worse when teleporting's added to them. Yeah, that teleporter definitely sent me downstairs. Yep, spawning more. There we go. Oh, that looks interesting.
The globe powered the machinery. With its destruction, the deafening shrieks of the machines ceased to echo throughout the bastion. It was now time to silence the machine's maker.
You try my patience, fledgling. Care to try my blade instead?
I'm not entirely sure that's even necessary. I swear I've gone through this entire area without shutting off the machines before.
My eyes yearned from lack of contrast. My mouth ached for want of blood. In this cold wasteland, food was scarce, and my hunger grew. The guards at the gate offered no resistance. They were frozen solid, and dead as they stood, their flesh welded to the cold metal of their armor.
Hmm. Almost there. And we just have to survive the fight with Malik once we get there. What are these patterns? Indecipherable is what they are. Oh, sweet blood. Ah. It's interesting that this, given that it's like primarily a 2D game on the PlayStation, that zooming out like this so often slows everything down. Like, that's really surprising. Hey, welcome back, Manda. We're in Malik's Bastion. You took more than you should have.
A corpse held court on a tattered throne, grinning malignantly at me through blackened teeth.
It is not often that a man sees his own corpse. It is a sobering experience. But I am far less interested in my own corpse than I am in yours. Prepare yourself, vampire!
Yep, so there's Malik's corpse, as we saw in the intro. His soul stripped from his body, fused to the armor he held. Ooh, bigger health. You could very easily argue that Malik's punishment was far too harsh. Malik is... It's so laced with contempt as so much of what Kain does is. Malik! It is interesting, like, Kain seems to have a low opinion of generally everybody, but when you get to Elzevir, whew, he has no restraint when it comes to his opinions about Elzevir.
Spiked mace.
Feels like it's taking longer than it usually does. He hasn't fallen down once yet.
Iron sword.
There we go. You just gotta get the full combo on him. There we go. Have to get out of it.
Havoc and malice, their presence in my hands keeps me from employing magic. Yet rest assured, they do little to hamper my relish for slaughter.
Ah, the axes. And so ends our trip to Bastion's Keep. We cannot win in a fight with him, because he cannot die.
The axes. Twould seem Malek's destiny with my blade was postponed. Perhaps Ariel could offer further guidance.
Alright, so let's go see Ariel. Game's already telling me to just go to the Oracle of Nosgoth anyway.
Ah, the Lord returns empty-handed. Does the Seraphim elude you? Very well. Go east of Malek's Bastion. The Oracle shall give you aid.
So they do mention the Sarafan by name. It's interesting that Ariel refers to the Oracle as the Oracle, given that she has to know who it is. I mention a lot of things by name, Clem. Could really do with some blood, so I should switch back to the sword.
Iron sword.
You got trivia or anything tonight, Clem? There's a lot of caves.
High upon the face of these cliffs, hidden amongst the complex network of caves, the underground sanctity of the wise Oracle of Nosgoth lay sleeping. Perhaps it was time to brave the winds and seek out this oracle from the vantage point of the heavens.
There was some blood first, though.
Oh, little vampire, the game grows interesting. But with so many pawns, can you find the true player?
Dark Souls 2, though? Like, really? Need be, I can kill some of these people. There's a save point in the cave. We soon discovered I was right. Speaking of multiplayer experiences, though, like, Zeke and I were testing Baldur's Gate 3 yesterday. See how the multiplayer works when we eventually do our multiplayer playthrough of it, which will most likely be streamed. And, like, the multiplayer for that is surprisingly robust. Like, a surprising amount of freedom to both do combat, explore, and engage in role-playing. Which is pretty cool. You can be engaged in your own conversations. You can be in different areas of the map. You can be on different maps. Right. So I look forward to when we eventually do that. I feel like multiplayer will really liven that game up. Stuff like that's always better with friends. And if you only have to, like, control and direct one character, I feel like it'll be so much more engaging that way.
The human mind is a fragile thing. One minor shock properly timed can render them catatonic and ripe for feeding.
Double kill. I appreciate that the magical shield bounces back all projectiles and not just magic ones. So how many people you got doing Dark Souls 2 together, Clem? Three? You know what I've heard is actually a really good multiplayer experience? Is Elden Ring modded with the seamless co-op mod on PC. So you can just play through the entire game as a standard co-op experience. I've heard that's really good. Yeah, I can believe it. Like Dark Souls would have always really worked as a proper co-op game, not just locking everybody into like small areas during multiplayer. Human. These people have nothing to say.
The nights can get very cold around here, stranger. I can help you get through it. Ooh, aren't you the handsome one?
Looks like the only open area around here is the cave. I want to see what's going on over there. Yeah, presumably it's just going to lead us all over the mountain. I feel very enthusiastic about doing that. Let's see what's going on the other side of the cave. Yeah, just people frozen in ice. Doesn't look healthy. I feel like the layout of this map makes no sense. Oh, that's interesting. I feel like we just keep going, we'll eventually get where we want to go. Although where we want to go is actually a flying location. Like a flying destination. So really what I want to do is like, explore these places and see if there's anything worthwhile in here that I can miss. Stun spell will probably be useful at some point. But is there anything else? Hmm. Oh, Clem, you know what is a good multiplayer experience? That's okay, Clem. I'll educate you. It's okay. Devil May Cry 5 with the co-op mod's actually really cool. But like officially, I've always been kind of curious since they first announced it of the long line. The Switch version of Devil May Cry 3 has Bloody Palace co-op with the option of one player playing as Dante and one playing as Virgil. And you can load two separate save files up for it. So one player can play as a Dante profile they've got, and another can play as a Virgil profile they've got. The awkward thing is it's split screen only. Like, if you've got family who are into Devil May Cry, like if one of your nephews is into it, it'll be fun. Or your nephews have Switches. Or have a Switch. The important thing when you have a child is to groom them to be your co-op partner. So you can play those local multiplayer games that you've always wanted to play and had nobody to play them with. The only reason to have children. If you have a child, you'll finally have somebody to play LEGO Lord of the Rings with. Or Resident Evil Revelations too. Just, like, hope you don't have a child who's a complete weenie. And gets, like, scared really easily. These doors look like they're all locked. Buy your child a PC to play video games on. And play Resident Evil Outbreak with them. Buy your child an Xbox One. And then have an Xbox One yourself. And then you can play Castlevania Harmony of Despair with them. Buy your child an Xbox. And then you have a co-op partner for Halo. If you have a child and you are not teaching them how to play Halo from a young age, you are a bad parent. Teach your child to play Halo. Very important. Have a child and introduce them to Super Nintendo emulation, and then play Secret of Mana co-op with them. Secret of Mana is great in that way, because if you accidentally have twins, surprise, Secret of Mana's 3-player, you can all play together. if your significant other gives birth to triplets, 1, you look her in the vagina and you tell her not to do that again. And 2, like, boot up X-Men Legends. Four-player. Four-player co-op. You can introduce your children to the X-Men and play 4-player co-op with them. It'll be great. But why do children exist if not to play through Raven's Marvel games? Raven's Marvel 4-player co-op games. You can start with X-Men Legends, and then go to X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse, and then move on to Marvel Ultimate Alliance. And then Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. And then you can consider Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I debated buying that yesterday, actually, while I was out. There's, the second-hand retailer I was in had it for the lowest price I've ever seen it, which was £35, which isn't that cheap anyway. But I ended up buying some other stuff instead. I bought Pikmin 4. And maybe now I'll finally get into Pikmin. Who knows? Or I'll put it off for like 10 years while I slowly work up the motivation to play through Pikmin 1. So I can do the series in order, because if I start with 4, then I'm never going to enjoy the previous ones. I know I won't. The gameplay refinements will be too important. But yeah, picked up Pikmin 4. Metroid Prime Remastered. Finally picked that up. And Cadence of Hyrule, featuring Crypt of the Necrodancer. Which was very much an impulse purchase. It was cheap enough. I've got Crypt of the Necrodancer, and I've never been super into it. But I remember enjoying the demo for Cadence of Hyrule, and like maybe the clincher is just the Zelda music. Like, will I enjoy it more if the music we're fighting to is Zelda music? However, one thing that you might actually be interested in, Clem, I did actually, because I set my Switch up finally. Because I bought these games yesterday and I should actually fucking play some of these games I've got. Still not played Bayonetta 3, I bought it in November. So I set my Switch up and started up Theatre Rhythm Final Bar Line, which is the latest Theatre Rhythm game where you play through Final Fantasy songs, which, if you've got a 3DS and you like rhythm games and you've never picked up Theatre Rhythm, even if you don't enjoy Final Fantasy music, Theatre Rhythm's worth playing. It's a good rhythm game. But Theatre Rhythm Final Bar Line started up today, and like, it's a little complicated right off the bat in comparison with the others, but it's fun, and it seems to have a lot more depth than the previous ones, which is good. Because, like, Theatre Rhythm Curtain Call had a surprising amount of depth to begin with. Having more on top of that is not a bad thing. So I started it up and it's like, okay, you've got a key. It's like, started up the series quests, and it's like, you've got a key. You can unlock one Final Fantasy game. You have 6 choices of which Final Fantasy game you can unlock to play through the series quests of. And they say the idea is like you play through the story of that game in music form. How true that is, I don't know. but like the Final Fantasy games you have access to immediately are, weirdly enough, like Final Fantasy 2. Not 1, 2. 2, 5, 7, 14, 15... 2, 5, 7, 14, 15, and another one. I can't remember like which one that was. And so it's like, which one was I going to pick? I picked 7. Of course I picked 7. And so it starts off, and like the first mission is playthrough opening bombing mission. It's like, you know, this seems good. Seems like a good idea. Down for this. And like I say, it was a little more complicated than I expected. Gave me the option of starting out on basic. They've added a 4th difficulty to it. Because previously it was basic, expert, and ultimate. But now it's basic, expert, ultimate, and supreme. And I was like, ooh, I remember ultimate being very dicey. So I was like, okay, it starts you out on basic, and I was like, I remember basic being like really easy in the previous game. So I upped it to expert, and expert was pretty engaging. It was pretty focused and good. There it is. Button I've been looking for this entire goddamn time. It seems fun. Like, if you've got a Switch and you're into Final Fantasy or rhythm games, I'd probably recommend it. It's been fun so far. I have 2 Switch Pro controllers, and I know one of them has drift. And the problem was, the one I charged and started playing with was the one with drift, so that didn't help. I've charged my other controller now. Well, that'll make playing it easier in future.
The Heart of Darkness.
That'll be good. Yeah. Well, I've got this time off. Maybe I will just sit down and do Bayonetta 3.
Spiked Mace.
Well, it should. But the Switch is all hooked up now and ready to go. And that's good.
The Heart of Darkness.
Just gonna end up in a loop of this, I can feel it. Yeah, it's good stuff. I really should play Pikmin, just generally. This area might be too big. Blood. I hope it's not Chris's blood. But other than that, like, I've really just been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Alright, so there's a switch there. Right. I feel like if I break that, something's gonna happen. No, stretch. Stretch. Make sure you're sticking around this long, my lady retro. Yeah, for a while now. I didn't equip the mace. That's the whole reason I paused the game to begin with. I am actually pretty interested in checking out Metroid Prime Remastered as well, though. And like, I can have Metroid Prime finished quickly enough. My last playthrough is like 5 hours, maybe. It ain't gonna take long. Though I can't even say, like, with better controls it'll be shorter, because I was playing the Wii version last time I played it, and those are good controls. Like, if there's one thing the Wii did really well, it was the pointer controls. The Metroid Prime trilogy made good use of those. This man has long arms. I'm not a fan of the game. I enjoy watching other players see it. Yeah, I appreciate you being here. It's been cool to see a bunch of people coming out for Blood Omen. Alright, so the button should be up here. There it is. Open. Those are. Right, so I'll have to go through this door here. Yeah, it's cool seeing people come out for Legacy of Kain. Gone but not forgotten. I was this close to starting 102 tonight. I feel like less people would have come in for that. That's not a werewolf. I feel like less people would have come out for 102. Yeah, this is actually how I found one of my favourite streamers, Magic Core. I was looking for one of the Soul Reaver games at the time. I think it was specifically Soul Reaver 2, and Magic was streaming it. And that's how I found Magic, and Magic's been one of my favourite streamers ever since. Good people. Good people, Magic. Maybe I should, like, suggest to him to do the Legacy of Kain series again. I haven't done it in a few years. He's done Tomb Raider quite a bit recently. It's a shame these games aren't more available now. Nice games to vibe with. I don't do that as much anymore. I used to look for people, and now like, I've got plenty of people that I follow, and I can't keep up with all of them without adding more people to it. It's like I first found Teak because I was looking for Resident Evil 2. You know, Teak's like one of my favourite streamers and a good friend. I found Ali because I was looking for Resident Evil, and that community's kind of meshed with mine. That's how I found Clem. Clem was from Ali's community. You know, Clem's a good friend. It's all good stuff when that stuff works out. There's been no music for like 20 minutes. And there's been so little blood, I wanted to drain that gypsy camp. Yeah, it's a good idea. You want to get a vibe before you start following. See how people are, how they act, interact.
A guillotine, its blade still wet with blood. The shield was newly crafted. Its metal shone brightly in the firelight. The crest I did not recognize. Hidden amidst the many obscure artifacts in that museum, I discovered an ancient chronicle. This passage caught my eye. It was during these dark times, infested with the plague of the undead, that the Circle brought the Seraphan to existence. Trained to be devoutly loyal to the Circle and the perfect exterminators of the undead scourge, they were led to many victories by the righteous paladin, Malek. They cleansed the vampires with fire and released their souls to more blessed realms. There is no wrath as terrible as that of the righteous. I'd read enough. At once, disgusted and intrigued, I placed the book back down in that museum. Odd. This armor resembled that of the ward and his minions, yet the steel seemed newly fashioned and untarnished by time. I recognize this crest from my youth. 'Tis the sigil of the mighty lion of Willendorf, blood-stained and rusted upon this battered shield.
A nobleman, seeking wisdom. Death has taught you well.
Enough philosophy. I seek answers.
Answers indeed. I have them all if you have the questions. And what are the questions for these answers? King Atmar, the only hope to defeat the legions of the Nemesis. King Atmar, paralyzed by his princess's malaise. King Atmar the useless. Pray, good sir, what are the questions?
A pox upon your tricks and babble, old man. Answer me this. Who is Malek, and how can I defeat him?
All in time, Sirrah. Yes, time. Unless you master it, it will master you. And now it's time for your answer. Malek, defender of the Nine, and last of the Seraphim sorcerer priests. His vanity led to the slaughter of the Circle at the hands of the vampire Vorador. For his failing, his spirit was fused to a hellish set of magical armor. He has allowed no member of the Circle to fall since.
What of this Vorador?
Follow the glow of the Ignis Fatuous to the Termagant Forest.
Ignis Fatuous?
The Ignis Fatuous lights the path to hell, nobleman. Your path. time, Kain? Next time.
What an odd character. I didn't realize you could just walk in here on foot. I thought you had to fly.
Through this magic, I can stop my enemies in their tracks. Frozen in time, they can do nothing to hinder their own doom. Sometimes I draw out their fate, for the added fear sweetens their blood.
Speaking of blood, I could do with a refill. Save point and a progression. Just point things out to make it obvious. Yes. What'd I do? Alright, so there's this save point here. Why would you follow me like that? Hmm. On the other side of the mountain. Finally. How are you, good sir? More of these things? Come on. It's something I can drink. Probably getting close to time to end it. Almost 11. We made good progress. Wasn't expecting to get past the Oracle's Cave. Rude. Yeah, so what's going on here? Korhagen's in that direction. Ushtenheim.
The Black Forest reigned here, its kingdom rarely invaded by those that live in the light. But it was called home by this mysterious Vorador. Legend told of a time when Vorador defeated Malek of the Seraphan. If such a man did exist, then he could perhaps be the key to defeating the Ward.
Check what's in here, and I'll probably save and quit at the next save point. Oh, missed.
When in mist form, I am invulnerable to physical weapons, blade and claw. I can seep through locked doors and cracks and move swiftly like a shadow fleeing light.
Oh, there's a save point.
Iron Sword.
Yeah, that's going to do it then. So that's good progress. Good progress today. I think 2 or 3 more sessions. And work out what we're going to do after this, and then after that, do Ace Combat 3 for Flame. With all 5 endings. Yeah. So what do you think, Clem? You think you'll give this a shot? Having seen more of it, like enough of it? We're probably going to be back tomorrow, my Lady Retro. Around about the same time-ish. A bit of time to grab it. And like I said, after this, not sure what we'll be doing, but then after that, we'll be doing Ace Combat 3 Electrosphere as we continue the year of PlayStation, where we're only playing PlayStation 1 games all year. So Soul Reaver will probably pop up as well at some point, but it'll be further down the line in this year. Yeah, because if I do the PS1 version of Soul Reaver this year, when we come back to do like the entire series, we can do the PC version of Blood Omen and the Dreamcast version of Soul Reaver. And that'd be good. Yeah. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining the stream. I always really appreciate the support. Big special thank you to everybody in the chat. Chat is always the best part of the stream. Flame, Clem, Teak, Manda, Milady Retro, Razor, Leon, Icy, Zen. I think that was everybody. Yep. Thanks so much for joining us. Keeping me company. Chat is always the best part of the stream. We should be back tomorrow with more of this as we continue the year of PlayStation. Because Sundays are now freed up with Clem and I finishing the Final Fantasy VII New Threat mod, possibly a return of the demo reel, where we play through a bunch of PlayStation 1 demo discs and see how these demos hold up, see whether they engage us, see whether we've even heard of some of these games before. Because even as much as I know with video games, there's still a lot of video games out there that I don't know. Like, the PlayStation 1 had so many games. And it's always super interesting for me when we find games that I don't recognise or don't know. Especially when they're not just sports games. Yeah, should be fun. Yeah, probably demo reel when in Sunday. Probably. But yeah, that's going to do it for us for today. So there's not really anything else to say except thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic time of day. And take care. We'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.